Welcome to Module K in our Garden Schools educational programme, Tending to the Gardens. In this module, we shall learn about observing and recording plant growth, why it is important to establish garden routines for pupils, and which environmental factors may have an impact on a successful growing season. In our previous module, we examined the steps involved in planting and how to consider the space that plants need in order to grow. We shall now discuss what activities are required to tending these small seedlings in the school grounds and what learning experiences pupils can get from doing so. Plants need adequate space both above and below the ground to grow properly. Vegetable plants expend a lot of energy to bloom and produce fruit, and it is important that the stresses this induces are managed so they keep healthy and strong until they are harvested. Pupils can be allocated sections of the garden to observe the plants that they are growing and be responsible for tending to the health of the plants they are in charge of. In journals, they can use math skills to record the amount of growing on a regular basis. This could be counting the number of leaves, buds or flowers, as well as the height and width of the plants they look after. Art can be combined with this by drawing the various stages of the plant as it develops, or photographs taken that can be used for a slideshow to be presented at a school assembly. So what are the key actions to tending the school garden? Establishing a watering routine is vital. Regular watering will ensure the proper development of the seedling as it grows. Pupils love to water, so it is important that they understand the amount of water that needs to be given. Feeling and touching the soil connects people to nature and is the best way to decide if water is needed. If it has been raining a lot, then the watering visits may be more of a check-up than a rush to the tap. Investigations should also be taken on how much water the plant being looked after needs. Some, like tomatoes and cucumbers, are very thirsty and may need a daily top-up to progress their growth, whilst others will be happy to be left alone for a while. Ideally, you will have access to rainwater captured in a water butt, or close access to a tap, so the watering routine isn't too messy on school corridors. Constant reviews of the space for your plants are also necessary. The removal of excess seedlings competing for space will provide healthier and bigger crops. This process, called thinning, if done carefully, can mean that uprooted seedlings may be gently replanted further apart. Sometimes this isn't possible, but it is a learning curve for pupils about sacrifice in their gardening for the overall benefit. Plants may also need to be staked if they are tall and climbing, and this should be done at an early stage so you don't cause damage to the forming roots by forcing the stake through them and into the soil. The garden space is inhabited by many living things, and we need to recognise this in our routines. Some may be occasional visitors like cats that leave traces behind. Some may be other pupils who accidentally disturb the plants whilst playing, and some may be pests like snails. When we remove slugs and snails, we put them into the compost heap, as they are great for breaking down organic matter and are contributing to the decomposition of our material. Better being in there than munching on the vegetables and herbs that we are cultivating in the school garden. A daily routine of removal should be established, probably best done first thing in the morning, as they are most active at night when we are not in school. Uncultivated bare soil will also attract unwanted plants to grow. Weeds. Weeds compete with vegetables for water, nutrition and space in our gardens and often have negative connotations. A weed is just a flower growing in the wrong place, is a quote attributed to many people, including George Washington Carver, the prominent black scientist of the early 20th century. But weeds are important as they are a vital source of food for insects and pollinators, especially at times of the year when these sources can be difficult to find. Pupils should understand which plants are their vegetables and which are weeds, and a weeding routine established to remove these from the growing areas. One idea to make this easier is to create a separate weed bed, where weeds are actually tended to and labelled so children can compare and review a plant before removing it. These beds also act as go-to areas for bees and insects. Weeds should be removed before they go to seed in all areas of the garden so that the volume can be controlled from year to year. Some weeds are edible, and pupils can research this too. Ground elder, for example, is an invasive rhizomatous weed, but it is believed to have been in the UK since Roman times and brought here as a herb. As always, make sure you know what plant you're picking before eating it. To summarise, tending involves the active and ongoing process of observing plants as they grow and maintaining the garden in the appropriate conditions. Regular routines and recording can improve pupils' health and well-being through outdoor activity and connecting to nature, develop their numeracy, maths and artistic skills, as well as demonstrating skills of scientific inquiry and investigation using practical techniques. Successful tending will hopefully lead to a successful harvest, and we will discuss harvesting in our next garden school module.